Damn, Ingenious made the beat? Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I am, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Join with me, as always, my co-pilot, the Dime Dropper, Coach Luna. How we doing, Brody?
Blessed, man. I'm super excited for this one. I've been looking forward to this one for a good long time, man. A brother of mine, Shaun, man, I can't wait to go. I'm gonna pass it back to Steve to go ahead and introduce you, but I'm super excited for this part, bro.
Man, that you took the words right out of my mouth, bro. We again, everybody knows if you listen to the podcast, we do a pre-show and we get a chance to kind of chop it up with the guests beforehand. So dope conversation in the pre-show. But before we get into that, we can't forget CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast, brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, Brody?
Hey,
Bless.
that's long.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
man,
Another
I'm
day.
excited for this too, man. Like Luna said, he been talking it up, so we already know Luna's solid. That's why he here, and he got a solid circle. We see why he is what he is. Your company definitely defines or helps define who you are.
Man, you guys are still in the gyms right now. You still in all the gyms right now. We still in all the gyms. Listen, today again, like everybody's already alluded to, we got a very special guest with you guys today, um, for a very special topic. And I think a very fitting topic, especially seeing as how I think this was in episode 3 or 4. I think Coach Luna mentioned um, our guests on that pod. So that should tell you how long we've been waiting to have this conversation. Um, a very long time. So 4 years starter as a linebacker, powerhouse linebacker, racking up over 230 career tackles, a
Right.
critical leader for the Oklahoma State University football team. I'm gonna say some people will argue the most or one of the most dominant defensive teams in history for that school. We're gonna just say the dominant, the most dominant defensive team of all time for Oklahoma State University. Our friend of the pod. And also, let's add this on as well because we gotta give you props here as well. A ESPY award nomination as well. Let's throw that on there as well because that's
Crazy.
that's that's major. That's major. So that tells you again his impact on and off the field. Please help me in welcoming our guest, the remarkable Coach Shaun Lewis. How we doing, sir?
It's a blessing, man. Blessed by the best. I like to say it's another day in paradise, so I'm honored to be a part uh, of this conversation with you guys.
Man, this is a really good conversation. And very fitting, like we said before, conversation when we talk about discipline. And before we get into discipline, before we get into the topic, I have some questions. I want to know some more about Coach Shaun, a little bit about where you came from. For the people that don't know how
Mhm.
you got into football, like what kept you in football, and kind of your story. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a play by play of kind of how you
Mhm.
came up, sir?
So, man, it's where do I start with that? I had an older brother that played, and it was one of those things that like, okay, my older brother played, I'm gonna play. So I remember the first year I played center for the A-Leaf Steelers, and I was trash. I was straight Wednesday. What day did the trash run? Wednesday, Saturday. I was straight Wednesday, Saturday, man. But it was one of those things that over time you get better at. And my dad, he didn't know what he was doing, but after practice, we would just stay after and do a little bit extra, work on some
Right.
of the things that I had questions about. And I noticed that like, okay, nobody else is doing this. All right, well, I kind of like the progress I'm making. The next year I progressed play some more athletic positions. And we moved over to the Southwest Cowboys, and from there just started to excel a little bit more. And then by the time I got to middle school, I went to Missouri City Middle School, man. You get there and everybody's athletic. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta kind of put in a little bit extra work. And so the first year I remember seventh grade football, like I was just another guy. I wasn't the fastest, was never the biggest. So it's like, okay, man, I got to do something different. So, I think as I look back on it, it's like, oh, wow, I was doing things that like a lot of grown-ups don't do in their own life, but it's being reflective over where your weaknesses were. And I knew I wasn't that fast, wasn't the biggest. So, okay, I have to like kind of be mentally ahead of everybody else. So I just kind of study a little bit there and like, try to get quicker with some of my movements and just understand the plays, even though it was like probably 10 plays in middle school. But, you kind of process the information a lot faster, allows you to play a lot faster. So I did okay at Missouri City Middle School. I was supposed to go to Thurgood Marshall, but my dad wanted me to go to Hightower. So he ended up building a house in Winfield Lakes. And the first year, I stayed with some cousins that were zoned to Hightower. And then the second year, our house got built. And in my first year on freshman, man, I mean, it was the same situation. I mean, Luna might have saw something different, but for me, like I was kind of just middle of the pack type of guy. And so, man, I every practice you couldn't like the worst thing I hated was like some people would make you feel bad for staying after practice and getting a little extra work in. And like I got to a point where I was like I stopped caring. And then, but every day I would do something different. Like the piece of my game that I wanted to enhance, I would just kind of do drills centered around that. So I know I wasn't fast. So it was never really just, I'm just gonna sprint after practice. It was more so
Mm-hmm.
agility drills and like open field tackling stuff. So I really focused in on that, freshman year. And then I remember one game they moved me up to JV. And oh man, everything was happening so fast. I did not have a good game. I was like, man, every like I suck. Like I'm not ready for the next level. And I was originally, I don't know if Luna knew more about their plans for me, but would have been on varsity maybe as a bench rider, but they wanted me to go up, but I wasn't zoned to the school. So I knew the next year I would be on varsity, and I just didn't think that I was ready. So that summer, man, I hit it hard. I mean, we had working out with Luna and the older guys, and then we had Mr. Highsmith that was putting together workouts for us on top of the workouts that we were doing with the school. And man, I did everything I could to just not embarrass myself. And I probably overcorrected, but at guys like Luna and some of the other guys, Colton Valencia was definitely one of those guys that kind of showed me the ropes. And then sophomore year, I had a pretty decent year. I remember the first game we played Klein Forest. Was that Klein Forest, Luna?
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing like a stand-up DN in a 3-4 defense, so outside linebacker in a 3-4, and I think I had 3 sacks in my first game, and it was just like I can't believe this is happening. So whatever I did to make this happen, I got to do more of that. And so it was just
Right.
a process of just like paying attention to the little details of my game that I wanted to improve and just hitting those points after practice. And that just kind of kept feeding itself. And my sophomore year, we did okay. We lost in the third round of the playoffs to North Shore.
Mm-hmm.
And, it just kind of showed you like, dang, this is what our team is capable of. You had guys that was returning, Luna, AJ, Darius Johnson, Colton Valencia, Philip Stewart, all these guys. And I remember like telling myself going into that summer of my junior year, their senior year, like, okay, is super competitive on his defense. And if I don't do everything I can to get to the ball first, I'm not going to make any plays. So it was a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself. And then one thing I remember telling myself, and I didn't understand the impact of this, but like I asked myself, like, okay, how do I make every play?
Mm.
And it made me look at each play like, okay, what can I do on this play to make this play? And then you just get that feedback. The coach might not even be talking to you on a certain play because he doesn't even think that you're capable of making this play that's happening way over here. But for me, it was like, I can make this play. And you know, you just pick up the information, you try it out. If it doesn't work, you tweak it. And you know, you start making plays where people are like, how the hell did you do that? Like, I don't know. It just, I mean, I don't know. So my junior year, we ended up going to state. That was an amazing experience. Still kind of euphoric as to like what happened, but like you play the game so much in your mind that
Hmm.
like when it actually happens is deja vu. And it's been, I can count a number of times where I made plays where like I thought I had already made that play because I
Mm.
had made it so many times during film study. So that was kind of the thing for me. Like I just I do not I want to I want to be as prepared as possible for Saturday. So I'm not thinking. I just want to be in
You're
flow
just
state.
reacting.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just
Just
like if I'm thinking out there, I'm already behind. So I
absolutely.
had to because I was undersized. Like you have to be mentally ahead of everybody in order to have any success, especially playing with the caliber of athletes we had on our defense. And then not to mention the type of talent that we were going against. So for me, it was just like, okay, well, these are the tools that I have. I'm 5'11", 180, run a 4.9 40. I tried to avoid the 40 every time. Like, when people brought the 40 up, I just walked the other way.
Like, I'm
Like,
gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna do the shuttle.
right.
You got guys doing box jumps.
I did I did the triple jumping track, man. Like
Oh
I
man.
even did soccer to avoid track. And soccer did have some influence on instincts and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
another thing too, man, like I'm real big on like modeling. Like um so there were a few guys that were playing at a high level that I watched and was like, okay, how can I do that? And it was Shaun Spence that played at Northwestern. Luna know that name.
Mm-hmm.
There was another guy that got killed going into his senior year, Herman Mitchell, that played at Westfield.
Yeah. That boy was a dog.
Dog. He wore number 11 too. Who else did I watch? I watched Arthur Brown. He played in Wichita, Kansas. Um, and so for me, it was just like, man, how do I do that? And you just pay attention, you model yourself after these guys, and there's nothing wrong with being influenced by people that are much further ahead of you, especially if you're willing to put in the work. Um, I don't think that like people that are willing to put in the work are ever jealous of anybody.
Hmm.
Like you're inspired because you know, like, okay, if that's possible, then and I know I'm willing to put in the work, then that's possible for me. So
Right.
that's the approach I take. It's just a matter of now exposing yourself to like higher levels of what's possible.
Hmm.
So even now, like the life that we live is like a culmination of like what we've been exposed to even think that's possible for us. So for me, it's like, okay, how do I recreate like how do I use discipline to constantly be learning and raising the bar on what's possible for myself so that I'm never stagnated. And I think why I'm like so far into like this mindset now is because there was a period of time in my 20s where I got away from this thinking and I saw where my life was heading without, really living in what I lived by before and back to where I am now. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I really think that we're all disciplined. It's just some of us are more aware of the disciplines that are serving us. Because think about it. I mean, for the most part, everybody does the same things every day. Even a
Hmm.
person that says I have no discipline, they do about probably 5 or 6 of the same things every day. So your discipline is just your disciplines aren't serving you.
Right.
Mm.
You
So
just figured
it's
out
how do
a
we
way
get
to angle your discipline.
exactly? It's like everybody drives a car, but only some people use the GPS,
Right.
So how do we apply that to our lives? Well, I like to say like I'm like a big kid. I know I'm not going to be able to do this all at once. So how can I like just okay, let's just say I wanted to get to a point to where I'm doing 100 push-ups every day. I'm not going to jump out and start doing 100 push-ups every day. I'm going to do one push-up for as many days straight as possible. I just want to get the habit of getting in position to do the push-up. And then once I'm in position and like I know I feel bad if I miss just because it's so ingrained into me, then I can add the volume to it. But the first thing is creating the environment to get the thing done. So that's in one of the what book is that? It might be The Power of Habit or it's another one. But it's creating the environment to make the thing that you want to happen as easy as possible so that you don't even have to think about it. Like if I wanted to start going in the gym in the morning, I'm gonna put my gym clothes on the toilet.
Like that. I can't skip it.
You
But
can't
I
skip that.
can't miss it. If I wanna, it's whatever it is, how do I create that environment to make the thing that I want to happen as likely as possible to happen? And sometimes the hardest part is other people might not understand it during the process. And that's where like we kind of have to devoid ourselves of other people's opinions because they don't understand the direction.
Trust the
Luna,
process.
exactly. Luna, I'm pretty sure Luna passed me up on Trammell Fresno. I used to ride my bike up to Kitty Hollow Park to do extra hill workouts. And you're like, bro, we just worked out twice. Like, yeah, I know, man.
Not
I don't
only
know.
that, not only is he riding the bike, but he's also riding the bike with a 30-pound weight vest.
Right.
I don't know how
Let's
accurate that
amp it
part
up
is.
a little bit more.
But you stayed with that dang weight vest on, bro. That thing stayed on you.
I can't confirm nor deny that part, but but yeah, man, it's like once you have a vision of what's possible, then it's like, okay, what is it going to take to make this happen? And like even now, like man, I'm making some moves where people are like, bro, what are you doing? And it's like I don't even want to explain it to you. I'd just rather you kind of see the outcome of it. And it's kind of scary because like, what if it doesn't work out? Alex Hermosi said something powerful, man, and like he summed up the point of it all in like a few words. And like, let's just say you went on like a 6 month, just like I'm gonna be as disciplined as possible to make X happen, and X doesn't happen. Maybe you end up like losing everything or whatever. And you get to that point, you think that like, man, I have nothing to show for these past 6 months of me putting in this work for this outcome. And it's like, nah, that's not true. Like, it's not the outcome that's the goal. It's like who you become in the process. And so, like, you are the asset that you're developing.
Hmm.
So like you think that you taking a chance on starting your business, the success is you having a successful business is the thing that you're going for, but in reality, you're the asset. Like who did you have to become for this to even be a possibility? So that the next time you align yourself with something that you're trying to do, you're taking that asset into that thing. And so when you look at it that way, it's like, oh dang, well, if that's the case, I can't fail at anything. And it just
Mindset
resets the
shift.
got
Right. Coach, bef-
Yeah,
That's a lot right there, Steve.
yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
time.
You got
Time.
chop
Time.
that up.
Time.
That's
Man,
piece by piece, dog.
we
I
got a
promise
whole no. That was amazing. First off, thank you because you answered like 90 questions. So but we have to break this down because there's a lot of gems in what you said. There's
Mhm.
a a ton of gems in what you said, and I kind of want to. I was trying to take notes. I was trying I was trying to keep up. Um, but first big thing that you brought up was the people not understanding the additional work, the extra work, the extracurricular work that is
Mhm.
required to get to that next level, right? And
Right.
to be what you need, what you were are requiring yourself to be, right?
Yeah.
I heard you say, "I'm not the fastest. I'm not the strongest. You know, I have to work on these other qualities
Hmm.
that other individuals miss, or that some individuals take advantage of, or they'll just you're the fastest dude. I'm pretty sure you played with somebody like this before, where this is the fastest guy on the team, but he don't respect his speed, right? This is why you on the bench, because you don't
Right.
respect your speed. Like you can be the fastest dude on the field, but if you don't know how to utilize it for the team,
Hmm.
it's a problem, right? So I heard the extracurricular time that needs to be put in place, right?
Hmm.
Here's what I got.
I can how work more.
Number one, the biggest thing I heard from him was I can. He
Oh,
didn't
Yeah.
say,
absolutely.
he didn't directly say I can, but in so many words, he said I can. Even when he was a
Yeah.
shorty, he always believed that he could. The
Yeah.
next question
Shows
was
the determination there.
how, and his father modeled it early on, and it stuck with him. He don't
Hmm.
say after.
Yep.
And that became his regular routine. We heard that throughout the whole story, the consistency of staying after. When y'all
Right.
leave, I'm here. Because I
Hmm.
know right now, this is where I can't get to it. I don't have the speed that I like, but I know these other intangibles can get me there
Hmm.
and they can build on my game. And he just had to put in the work. How much?
Simple.
More work. More than
All
you.
of it. More than the next person, right?
Yeah.
Coach,
My top takeaways.
Coach Sean, when we talk about the training regiment that you instilled, sorry, that your father and you helped kind of, combine and instill into
Hmm.
yourself. When we talk about that regiment, was your father was he a football player prior to, or was this something that like he just kind of just wanted to just help his son get to that next level?
Yeah. He actually played a linebacker at Madison High. He never made it past high school, but it I think certain skill sets or certain traits transcend wherever whatever domain you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And even in his career path, I mean, he put in extra work. He worked extra hours. So like we've never really been afraid of extra work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even I mean, even in every job I've had or anything that I've done is always like, okay, I see what are the minimum requirements, but like what can I do to go beyond what's required of me? Because I think that like deep inside of us, all of us are capable of doing more. It's sometimes we need a little bit of guidance in seeing what that more is, or maybe we're not even in the right domain to be motivated
Mm-hmm.
to do more.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're somewhere that you naturally inclined to be, like the best people in the best domains don't look at it like a chore. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
genuinely interested in this. Like for me, it was an experiment. Like,
Right.
okay, I like if I do this, I get this. If I do these extra cone drills, I get faster at these certain plays. So like it just became a big experiment, you know, test and see. And I wasn't afraid to look stupid. Like, why'd you shoot that hole on that play? I remember I remember that a few times. Like, you know, we used to do a half line inside run, and I would be like, you want me to wait until this guard pulls around and then make contact with him? Like when he has all this momentum? why don't I just hit him before he even sees me and then go make the play? And I tested it out and I blew some I blew some stuff up and it was like,
Yep.
oh, okay. Well, and the coach was like, what made you do that? I was like, well, it just makes sense. Like he's way bigger than me. Why would I give him a chance to dominate me? Like
Shaun was the cardinal sin from inside linebacker play. If that guard pulls,
That's
you do not follow and shoot that gap and try to make the play from behind it. Every coach always says this: if you're gonna shoot that gap, you better make the play. But I tell you
yes.
what, he made the play every time, bro. Every time. I was like, I can't do that. I don't have that little extra little wiggle right there to make that play. I got to do it by the book, but I'm gonna make. Speaking of, man, it's funny like how Shaun was talking about how we would experiment and stuff. Man, we would go do Pilates. We were at one point,
Mm-hmm.
bro, after workouts, it's about 6 p.m. We would go to LA Fitness and we would do yoga on certain days, and we would do Pilates on certain days. And even in the season, I don't know if Shaun remembers this. We started getting so competitive in everything, bro. So it got to a point where we were like, all right, well, how can we still be competitive even going into games? And one thing that me and him used to do were the winner had to buy, like whoever had the most tackles in the game, the loser had to buy that person a Sunday from McDonald's.
we used
McDonald's
to
was
go
right up the street, and
we
this
used
is
to
when
go hard at that
the machine
McDonald's.
actually worked. The ice cream machine actually worked at McDonald's.
Damn, I was gonna say that's
Yeah.
a that's
So
probably
we did
it's got a, is it
we
made
did
out of
that,
gold or something?
man, coach. We did that every single game, and I lost about 15 times, but I won once. I know. I remember I won once, and I was the happiest dude on earth. I was like, man, hell yeah! I finally, Sean, run me mine.
Right.
But
Give me my
Luna
ice
doesn't
cream.
understand his impact on he made a lot of plays that he didn't physically make.
True.
So
True.
he was like the Chris Paul of the defense. He might not have got the points on the stat sheet, but if we was tracking assists, I mean, you are accounted for, over 80% of the production of the defense. So, I mean, we wasn't at that point at that time to give you that credit, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
give you that credit. Like I didn't have to think about a lot of things because you was responsible for it. And you might say something and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I'm already locked in on this. Let's go." So, you have way more responsibility. So, you know, I thank you.
That is again why it's so important to understand the team aspect of not just football, just of life in general. If everybody's doing their job, your job becomes that much easier. And again, it shows. Like,
Hmm.
it shows. Again, you had a amazing career throughout college because you were able to play with some people that were able to continue to do their jobs. I want to take something back that I did write down that you mentioned that's hard for a lot of people when it comes to discipline, and that's building the consistency. But I heard
Hmm.
you say something that I was like, yes, this is something we do need to dive a little bit deep into, and that's the consistency over intensity. And
Hmm.
Mm.
you mentioned something that was like staying consistent, even if it's the smaller steps, like getting in the push-up position. You don't even got to do the push-up. Just get in the
Yeah.
position and then get up every day at 9 o'clock. Like
Right.
making that consistent is again those smaller steps, and then eventually once you get down that push-up position, you're like I'll do a push-up today.
Right.
It's like get one in today. Right.
Right.
Again, you can start building on those small wins. And I think that's something to be said because it's easy for, I think it's easy for someone that has had that level of discipline from such an early age. How would you help someone that's around our age now start building that discipline when they don't even understand the consistency over intensity
Right.
mindset?
So I like to look at it like first we have to define the goal, right? So once we define like the goal, um, I also want to be careful when I say define the goal because I think that a lot of times we aim too low.
Mm,
So we want to pick a goal that's like beyond what we think is possible. Because if you develop the habits to knock out the 10x goal, I don't know if you guys ever read that book by Grant Cardone, the 10x.
Yes.
But just
Right.
by you 10x in your goals, you're gonna automatically hit that lower level goal that were going for in the first place. So for me, like we have to define the dream outcome. Like if everything were to go my way, what would it look like?
mhm,
And you're doing one thing, like the most powerful thing that you're doing there is like not only making the vision clear, but like you just told your subconscious mind what to look for. So now you're going to be aware of certain things that can make that thing happen. So you primed your mind, you have a clear goal. Now we want to create an environment that makes this goal as easy as possible to hit. And once we've created that environment, we've just removed a lot of resistance. And resistance can come in the form of peers. It can come in the form of old habits. It can come in the form of sometimes the person that you're intimate with. It can come in the form of, desires that no longer serve you. And especially I say at this age, vices that feel
mhm.
good to us. Um, you know, and so once we kind of set this environment, you're not gonna be able to go from 0 to 100 tomorrow, but it's like, okay, let's treat myself as if I am a young kid. The one thing that I want to do, I just want to show up every day. Like that's the first habit I need to develop. And I know if I show up every day and I try to go from 0 to 100, I'm going to lose enthusiasm because I might not see the results for that level of effort that I'm not yet prepared for.
Mhm.
So we just want to get in and say, okay, let's just do the bare minimum starting out. And once it's easy for us at this level and we can track the progress that we're making, now we can add a little bit more, add a little bit more, add a little bit more. So I just I just err on the side of like, I know where you want to be, but like be let's be not be mindful, but just be patient with ourselves as we track along this journey. So just have more grace for ourselves. We're really hard on ourselves. We see what other people have and we want to be there, but like you can be there, but give yourself a little grace. Like your journey is a little bit different. Like
Mhm.
your dream outcome might be a little bit better or more dynamic because of the resistance that you had to fight just to make that thing happen for you. So a lot of times, if we can just give ourselves grace, we unlock certain things for us that might have been holding us back.
So you that final few sentences that you said right there, I wanna kind of just talk about um part of something that you said, where you said like in the mid 20s, because this is very relatable to me as well. You said you kind of lost your discipline and you had to get it back. What was it that how did you know you lost your discipline? And what did it take for you to like what were the things that you did to get it back? Like
Right.
how did you know that this is I'm supposed to go back on this path?
Right.
Can you like embellish on that just a little bit?
Right. No, that's a good question, man. And I love reflecting on this because it, like, when you reflect on it, you decrease the probability of it happening again. So for me, you think about it, like from the time that we were young kids, we've always been in a system. You go to organized sports, you go to school. The goals and incentives are embedded in those systems. So, if you're in kindergarten, you want to go to first grade. If you're in first grade, you want to go to second grade. You want to score this on these exams. You want to, bring home good grades. The incentives and the rewards are baked into the things that we were plugged into in sports. You want to start. You want to be the MVP or whatever. You want to have a good game. You want to score a few touchdowns. All of the rewards are baked in. So once you leave that system, college, going to class, being punished for tardiness, um, not playing good. Once you leave that system, it's a free for all. You know, no one's on you about not waking up on time. No one's asking you like, okay, do you like what's your goals for the next 12 months? Well, I'm looking at having a good season next year. Like you're not looking at those type of goals once you leave college. And so my thing was my goals were not clear. And it was this powerful quote I ran across last week. And it said, the world is going to come and ask you who you are. And if you don't know, the world will tell you who you are.
Mm.
And I was like,
Mhm.
God dang.
Mhm.
So in my 20s, I didn't know who I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to get better at certain things. I knew I wanted to, be wealthy, things like that, and be in shape. But like, I didn't have a clear goal that made me say no to certain things. Like football, it was easy. Like if it was Friday night and I had a game the next day, you know not to ask me nothing about nothing. I'm not going nowhere. I'm getting rest. Like everybody knew that. But when you move into manhood, everybody's not clear of your goals. So when you say, nah, I can't really do that, like, man, come on, it's Friday. Like, what's up? So I didn't really have um I didn't have the backbone then to be like, nah, I can't do that because I'm working towards that. So I said yeah to things that I shouldn't have said yes to. I had never drank in high school and I got to college, I drank a little bit, and then after college, like I found myself drinking way more than like I would consider it even necessary. I smoked, like I was smoking marijuana. It's like, bro, like that's not even you. Like I had people that ran across me while I was smoking, and they was like, bro, like what are you doing? I don't even know you. And so, you know, you get to a point to where like, man, I am underperforming my potential. And when I think the greatest disservice we can ever do to God is to not fulfill our potential. And I was on that path. Even if it was like a short 2, 3 years path, but like you see again, you see what's actually possible and what other guys are doing that have the same skill sets that you have, and you see that you're not there or close or even on the path, and it's like, this isn't worth it. The vices aren't worth it. It's just so for me, it was like, okay, what do you really want? If we continue on this path, this is what you're gonna get. If you go down this path, there's no limit to what you can get. So I vividly remember God speaking to me and saying, hey, it's time to, give me what you got. Um, and I think like we owe it to the world to become the best version of ourselves, create the man that you admire the most, and give that person to the world. So for me, it's like, okay, what does that person look like? And let's, like we did during football, let's put that person together and let's give it to the world. It's scary. Certain things I'm not used to, certain skill sets I don't yet have. But I think that that's the beauty of it. So I don't know if I answered your
It's,
question. I
That
kind of
was not
danced
it's
around it a
beautiful.
little
absolutely,
That was
absolutely.
absolutely what I was looking for.
bit.
So I have a follow-up question with that because with all that being said, that requires a lot of mental a lot of mental strength.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, they don't have that same type of mental strength. So how would you go about working with someone or telling someone that doesn't have that same type of mental strength on fixing that concept in their head so that they can start having that same positive self-talk attitude,
Yeah.
to keep moving toward their goals?
Right. Right. This is how I kind of look at it. Everything that we like consume throughout the day
Mm,
is what is going on between our ears. So you have to kind of audit your mental diet. Because it's like if you said you wanted to lose weight, the first thing the trainer is going to say, okay, what are we eating right now? And
mm-hmm,
where are we trying to get to? Okay, well, the first thing that he's going to say is, let's just cut this out. Let's cut out the late night eating. Let's cut out the, eating when you're depressed or when you're bored. Let's just cut that out. And from there, you're going to see improvements just from making a decision, root word decision, cutting, making a decision to cut things out. So once you kind of audit, like, okay, I'm trying to go here, but I'm not getting there. What's holding me back? Like if you can audit like the things that you're consuming throughout the day, the music that you listen to, the conversations that you're having with people, like if we can audit those things, then we can start to control like what's going on between our ears when we're just by ourselves. I heard this guy on this podcast say, if you're friends with an obese person, you're 50% more likely to be obese. I'm like, dang, that's powerful. And like, but you can switch out the obese for whatever it is. Like, it can be money, it could be like how you are with people, it could be whatever. But he then also said, even if you're not friends with a person that's obese, but you're friends with a person that is the friend of a person that's obese, you're 15% more likely to be obese. And I was like, oh,
Residual effects.
mm,
yeah. So it's like, okay, you really have to audit the people in your life.
mm-hmm,
Because a lot of times, like, man, it takes so much work to build up the belief in yourself, to do something that you've never done. And you do all that work just to have somebody come into your life or giving you an opinion on what you're trying to do that has no belief in themselves. So you just worked up your belief system, to maybe 90% to be able to hit this goal that nobody in your sphere or no one that you know has hit this goal. But then you have someone that has a two on their level of belief come and tell you, man, that ain't possible. Like if people that we knew the most, I'm just talking about sports now. If I had told people what I saw when I was riding my bike to Kitty Hollow Park, if I had told people that, yeah, next year we're gonna go to state and I'm gonna be the MVP of that game, or you know, after that class leave, I'm gonna be the number one linebacker in the state of Texas, or I'm gonna be the number three linebacker. If I had told people while I was riding my bike to Kitty Hollow Park, like, bro, like we might need to check Shaun into a mental institution. Like this dude is crazy. Like, bro, you 5'11", like yeah, you all right, but like ain't nobody checking for you. Like, so the biggest thing is audit our circle, and be careful who we share our vision with, because that could be the main like constraint from you making that happen. So that's maybe probably one of the most powerful things you can do in order to take that next leap into what you're trying to do. Um, and then just be patient with yourself. The biggest thing that, and as well as delayed gratification. How long can you do this boring, monotonous task without seeing results? And could you do more of this boring, monotonous task without seeing results? and for how long. So one of the things that I like, it's a lesson that I've learned in sports, but now I'm like applying it to like, okay, on this other game of being a man and like working on business, like how can we do more of what we're already doing? How can we get better at what we're already doing? And then once more and better has been exhausted, how can we do new things to get more and better? And so more, better, new of boring, monotonous tasks. The
Right.
discipline isn't sexy. What how many three-pointers does Steph Curry have to make in order to perform like that a few times a year? It's boring. Like
Absolutely.
I
I think I
girl,
read somewhere that he does shoot like three was like 3,000 or 5,000, 10,000 shots or something like that. Some ridiculous amount of three pointers that he shoots throughout the year, like before a season, just so that you can hit 30% of them. Like that's insane. Again, the amount of work, and I think again, like you said, I think the work part is kind of is it's not really understood the amount of work that is required to get to the level that
right,
some people want to get to.
right. I think the thing that we're trying to get to is, I mean, we've heard the 10,000 hours
Hmm.
um concept to mastery, but I think the quicker we can get to 10,000 hours, the easier it is to get for us to get in the flow. So, Steph has put in his 10,000 hours numerous times. So when he's pulling up, he can shoot that three without looking. Like that's what we want to get to in whatever domain we pick. It's just is not sexy. Um,
Right.
I've dated girls that would be like, you did that yesterday. Like you doing the same thing again today? And it's like girls want to have fun. I know how to have fun, but like I also think that like if if I don't reach my goal in some form or fashion, I don't love myself. Like if I'm not
Mm,
putting in the work to hit something that I say I want, I don't really like it's hard to practice self-love and then to say, no, I'm not gonna do that thing that's gonna help or that's gonna make this thing happen for me that I say I want. It's
right.
like if I say I want to be a better um father and I'm not, taking 1 hour a day to sit down with my kids and see how their day went, then in some form or fashion, I'm not practicing self-love. And then it's reflecting out into my life. So people aren't going to like me if I'm not hitting my goals
Right.
or if I'm not
That
even just on the path to the goal. It's not even the goal, but it's like on the path to, right? So,
there's a and that comes with a little bit of conviction, of feeling that I am not hitting my benchmarks. You know what I'm saying? That I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, but a lot of people, coach, and we know this for a fact, a lot of people get that conviction and ignore it.
mhm.
What are the what are the things that we've seen in our lives, and you could just speak for yourself in this example, the consequences of ignoring that conviction? What are the things that unknowingly, with the decline of this conviction, I just accepted this instead?
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I believe that you lose trust in yourself.
Mm,
Um, so if we were made in the image of God, God is a creator. God said, then there was. If we say, and then there isn't, then we're not practicing our godlike, you know, abilities. And we lose trust in ourselves. It has nothing to do with God at that point because we made a promise to ourselves that we didn't keep. And
mm,
we begin to hate ourselves. And it might not come out like you might not think that you hate yourself, but like, you go into the vices that don't reflect you loving yourself. Like, it might be binge drinking, it might be promiscuity, it might be alcohol, it might be whatever it is, but um, you that becomes a discipline. And I
The
think
vice becomes the discipline, right?
that's the scary part about how programmable we are, is that we're either going to be programmed to do the things that help us succeed or the things that don't help us succeed. Like a lot of people, everybody's programmed. It's just some people have no control, like they don't know where to start in order to program themselves. And that's scary, man, because that's a lot of the world. Like
Absolutely.
Well, you're
the
either
the
intentional or you're not intentional.
right. They the people that understand how we are wired know how to incite certain emotions from us. Like if they wanted to get us to ride, they know what to do.
Because
If
you
they
have no
wanted us to,
self-control.
but it's so simple. It's the same principles that we use, like people use in marketing.
Right.
Like if I want you to take me up upon what I'm offering you, well, I'm gonna hit certain emotional knobs. But it's
And
the same principles that work in everything. Like, um, so yeah, I just to go back to your question, Loon. When you don't keep your word to yourself, you begin to hate yourself. It, it you have to look at the extreme version of what that looks like to understand the magnitude of it. But when you start to hate yourself, what does that look like?
Mm.
Man, that looks like you crashing out. And that could be you having road rage and, you know, somebody taking your life on the road, or it could be you partying every night and putting yourself in positions where something could happen. It could be you stepping out on your loved one, and now you caught for infidelity, and now you lose your family. So it just by you keeping your word to yourself, it's a lot easier for you to keep your word and stay in alignment everywhere else. Um,
mm-hmm.
maybe yeah.
That's
I,
good.
I love how you said that again, having those piece having, that confidence in yourself and staying committed to yourself again will tend to keep everything else in line. And I want to go back to something you said earlier in the pod. We talked about kind of like more of like self-talk. And
Hmm.
based on our conversation that we've had with you today, it is very apparent that you are a self-starter. Like you are someone that can self-start themselves. You can self-talk yourself. You can get yourself to the mental state that you need to be in to do and accomplish whatever goal that you need to
Hmm.
accomplish. For some individuals, they find that can be very taxing or very draining, where you always have to be what me and Coach Wash always like to say is like on, like you always got to
Yeah,
be on, right?
yeah.
So how would you how would you explain, like, from your perspective, like carrying that weight of like of being on all the time?
Yeah. I think that comes with y- you don't even recognize the on and off switch. You're just doing it. Like I use a habit tracker now. When I was younger, I didn't have a habit tracker. I was just, but I noticed the longer of a streak that I have with a certain task, the harder it is for me to get away from it. So I just literally don't feel right if I don't do this thing now because I've done it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some people say, like, I gotta have a drink when I get off of work. It's the
Right.
same principle.
Literally the exact same question.
It's the same principle. So it's like, okay, if I know that I'm capable of getting into this like autonomous nature of doing a certain task, how can I set this up to where it benefits me?
on the
so
other
that
end, right?
yeah, so that I don't have to force myself to be on. Things just happen. And so with the cool thing about like once you kind of get into that state, like you exceed what you thought is actually possible for you because it's not a goal that the big goal doesn't matter. It's the hitting of the task every day that you care more about. Like if I did bench every day for the next, I'm not even going to put a timeline on it, but if I just say, hey, I'm going to do X amount of bench reps every day, and I want to see how long I can hit that streak, by default, my bench is going to go up.
Right. As it
So it's like,
should.
okay,
As it
so
should.
like,
Absolutely.
what can I do every day that the chances of me hitting this goal is just it's not, I'm not surprised. Like if I want to become a better speaker, which I do want to become a better speaker, if I just practice speaking every day, I have to get better.
Mhm.
If I want to be more outgoing, or let's just say more aware of other people, if I just practice doing something nice for someone every day, stranger or not, then by that happens automatically. So it's just like, okay, um, I, I want to create the circumstance to where I hit the goal, but then this becomes my identity. And that's
Mhm.
one thing, another lever that you can pull is like, one is environment. If you can alter your environment so that your goal is more likely to happen. But two, if you can assume a new identity, then that you're compelled to stay in alignment with that person that you compared, like that you put yourself in identity with.
Right.
So if somebody sees themselves, and words are so powerful, man. If somebody, I always stop people when they say stuff like, man, I'm such a, I'm such a fat person. I'm like, no, you can't, like, you can't tell yourself that. Now, like, the subconscious
Self-talk.
mind doesn't know the difference from, you know,
A joke.
physical
It doesn't.
reality and make believe.
Mhm.
So the words that we use program ourselves in our thoughts as well. So, like, it on a deeper level, everything that we say is a prayer.
Mm.
So just being really careful of what words we use to express ourselves. And then the level before that, like you said, controlling the thoughts so that like things are happening the way we want them to happen. It's hard. Like we start with auditing our current circumstance, defining where we're trying to go, and then just cutting out a lot of stuff. And then you're going to revert back to certain habits, like it's natural. But then just paying attention, like, okay, yeah, I said I wasn't going to eat at that place, but I ended up, yeah, I did it. So, okay, how can I like avoid that? Like, why did I? And I had a life coach. Well, he was our strength coach, Joel Tubman, Pastor Joel Tubman. He was with the Potter's House a little bit in Dallas, and then he just moved to Florida. But he was with us at Oklahoma State, and there was a time when I was at Oklahoma State where, like, I found myself drinking every weekend. Like, I don't even like to drink. Like, it's just, coach, I found myself drinking. I don't understand. Like, he was like, okay, so where are you doing this drinking? I was like, well, we had people come over, and I'm the bartender, and I end up making people's drinks, and I end up making my drink too. And he was like, okay, so this happens pretty much every time you're in this circumstance. Well, next time, just instead of pouring your drink with that in it, leave that out and just have a virgin drink. And I did that, and I had the exact same time. So like just being aware of like when we find ourselves repeating certain habits so that we can audit it and like conform it to hit the goals that we want to hit. So I would still have a good time. I just wasn't drinking.
Right.
And so we can do that in each part of our life if we can reflect and say, okay, why did I do that? Like, why did I feel compelled to take this action? How can I steer the boat a little bit so that I'm not going down that path, but I'm going down this path? And it involves self-reflection, which is why I think that, like, for me, riding without the radio on is like a time where I self-reflect. Shower is a time where I self-reflect a lot. Just sitting down at my desk and just reflecting on the day, like, um, was this was this almost as close to a perfect day as possible as far as the things that I wanted to get done? And then you look at it and say, oh, dang, man, I missed here, here, and here. Okay, how can we make this happen tomorrow? It's just auditing your time, how you spend your money, all these things, so that like all these resources that we have access to, we're able to create what we're trying to create. And
Hmm.
I think that's where we really start to see beautiful things happen for our lives when we get control over these resources that we have.
I love that everything that we've talked about today thus far, you've centered around faith. You
Mm-hmm.
centered it around the top of our pyramid that we talk about all the time is, is spirituality and
Mm-hmm.
being close to God and being in your word. How important is faith or your sense of purpose in maintaining discipline in your everyday life?
Oh yeah, I need this one.
Yeah. I mean, why else are we here?
Mm.
I don't
Can you say
like,
that for the people in the back?
like what are we doing this for?
Right.
I, at some point we're gonna meet our maker, and he's gonna audit our lives and say, hey man, I gave you these set of circumstances, these set of resources, these set of tools, and you did not fulfill what I needed you to do. And I think us having to live with unfulfilled potential is a form of hell.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
because you're talking about eternity, living eternity with regret, versus, meeting the maker and he says, well, I gave you these set of skills, I gave you these resources, you know, I made these things difficult for you and you persevered. And not only did you do what I needed you to do, you've exceeded. You've exceeded what I needed you to do, man. Like, I mean, God dang. And living with that is heaven. But
Right.
I don't think that like we have to wait until we die to meet our maker. I think we meet him every day. When we look in the mirror every day, can you look at yourself in the mirror? And if you can't have that conversation with yourself, I had these circumstances, I had these tools, I'm supposed to be doing this, and you can't look at yourself, like you're living in hell. Like it's not you having to wait until your body is no longer here, like you're mentally in hell. But on the other hand, if you're disciplined, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're taking the little resources that you have, you've been the man that God wants you to be, you're literally you brought heaven to earth. And you know, I think the that's our way of serving, is not just living in the word, but being the living word. If that makes
Man.
sense.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I don't know. Like I've definitely my relationship with God has gone to another level. And now not only am I putting testing myself, but like I'm testing God in the sense of where like, okay, like if I have you with me, what can't I do? And let's see. I don't know. Like he'll tell me like, yo, you doing too much, man.
Hmm.
Like you going beyond. But like so far I haven't been asking enough of myself. Um and like I think that we all kind of can look at certain points of in our life and say like, okay, I could probably be doing a little bit more here.
Right. Right. I again, you make this easy, man. It's like you're throwing me a alley oop right now for my next question. So I know that you mentioned a couple people, but obviously, dad is definitely one of them. Your brother is definitely one of them. A couple, you mentioned a couple coaches. Can you name a couple specific role models or influence people that influenced you throughout your life that has also helped instill discipline in you? And what were some of the key lessons that they probably taught you on, instilling
Yeah.
that discipline?
Yeah, I mean, every pretty much every relationship has taught me something. I mean, you take a little bit from everybody, and you hope that you give as well. But man, I like every relation. I could almost even down to like the crossing guard I had in elementary. The lady that
Explain this, please.
like, well, it's the interactions that
Mm-hmm.
like you have where like these people like you see the beauty in them and you adopt it for yourself. So it might not even be that she directly helped me become a better um football player, but the before you can be anything else for us, like we have to be a man, like we have to be, at that time a young boy. So all of these interactions, whether good or bad, like if the world is a mirror, like then I influence that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of look at it like that. Like, man, every person that I've come across is like, um, what can I do to have like made this a better situation than that? Like, it's obviously people like Luna, Mr. Highsmith, my dad, every coach I've had in high school, Coach Hallmark, Coach Ab, Coach Fontenot, Coach Wiley, all these guys, like, it's not just one person that creates you, it's the village around you. And I mean, even down like we used to go sit in Miss Armijo's office, and like those those interactions are like, man, that's you. It fills your soul up. Like it makes you want to be a better person, and that rubs off everywhere. So it's not just one or two people, man. Like the the problem that I have is that I understand that you can get that from everybody, and you kind of I have to do a better job of nurturing all these beautiful relationships that I have. But like I feel like everyone is capable of almost everyone is capable of, helping you become a better person, whether it's a negative influence or a positive influence. I'll tell everyone today, my older brother was a way better athlete than me. Way better. Like, and so for me, um, I mean, he'll tell you like he just pick on me, like beat me up for no reason, like all these things. Like, and I could be like, well, it's your fault that I didn't amount to anything. Or I could be like, thank you. Thank you for making me wanna get better, get bigger, get stronger, work on the things that you didn't have. Um, so it's just kind of perspective. But specifically, man, like we could be here for a few days just talking about all the different interactions, man. And it's just like I'm thankful. At certain times I took it for granted, but when you get on the side of like not being not reflecting and then not being grateful for those interactions, then that's when you kind of go down the wrong path. But man, like I'm honored to have come across the village of people that have influenced me to be a better man, and they hold me more and more discipline than they understand. So like if I'm about to crash out and do something stupid, if I just thought about a hill workout that I did with Luna, like no, I can't do that. Like I can't do this bad thing over here. So all of the interactions, they help mold you. Which is why the environment is so powerful. Um, but specifically one situation or a few situations where it's just like this was the key moment. It's like Oh man, I took a little bit of everything and just like st stacked it up and brick by brick. Um, I can give you one story though.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a story, it's like a summer with Coach Fontenot. I don't know, Luna, did y'all have a summer with Coach Fontenot right after freshman year?
I remember I have a story for Coach Fondo too, man.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Fontenot played in the NFL for a number of years, 6'4" ball head, still in shape, could still play, so very intimidating, man. Man of very few words, but when he did decide to speak, it's kind of like the lion's roar. Like everybody's paying attention. So every summer, every day after we ended our fall season as freshmen, we would work out with Coach Fontenot, during that period that we used to, spend time for this preparing for the football season. Um, so he would have us out there running sprints. It's the middle of the summer. Well, not the middle of the summer, but like the middle of the hottest part of the day, full pads. We running 110 sprints or whatever. We're running 200-yard shuttles, whatever he just had up his sleeve. He wouldn't even say much. Like he just said, "This is what it is." It wasn't no motivating. It was you gonna do it. Like it's just like, okay, this is normal. This is our normal for the next few weeks. So this it is what it is. So it just that teaches you the importance of just showing up and just putting in the work. Like you can't talk your way out of it. You can't say, "Well, coach, I'm gonna wait till it gets a little bit cooler." Like I'm just gonna like, nah, we about to do this. I'm not negotiating what we about to do. Like it's just about to happen.
Right.
And he was
I'm
the
not
type of guy.
asking.
Yeah, no, this is what we about to do. So stuff like that instills like if we said we gonna do it, we gonna do it.
Right.
Like I'm not negotiating if I feel like doing it. Like you kind of if we as men relied on our feelings, nothing would get done. It's just like I never feel like working out. Like, it might be some days where it's like, man, I can't wait to get to the gym. But most of the time it's like, God. But when you get in there, you generate the energy and like you start to elevate a little bit higher, but we never feel like doing anything. So um it's just getting past the emotions and just saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna put my work in."
There's a sense of selflessness and gratitude with all because I'm very familiar with all the individuals that helped impact you because they impacted me as well. But there's a huge sense of selflessness within all these individuals,
Mhm.
to where their main mission, it was like everything that they have learned in their lives is exactly what Shaun, I'm doing a disservice to this community. I'm doing a disservice to God if I do not share these tools. So
Right.
I'm going to do, and just like you said, I'm going to give these kids everything that I know.
Hmm.
And I'm going to tell them exactly how you're supposed to do it, when you're supposed to do it. And as long as they stick to it, I've seen the fruits of these roots. I know how this tree is going to end up being fruitful. Just stick to the discipline.
Right.
Just do it. Don't worry about how much water might hit. Don't worry about if the soil, if there's a drought that hits. Don't worry about any of that.
Right.
I know the roots and what I'm attached to is going to produce these fruits. That man, that everything, that's all that just kept hitting me, man, was just like, and then as self, that gratitude, that not taking anything for granted, that um not one thing is greater than the other because everything has a correlation and everything compounds. So it's just like a continuous thank you, God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. And it's like the more I'm saying, the more I'm actually feeling that thank you. Not just saying thank you just to say it. I feel
Right.
it. saying to me, saying thank you is also an action. You know what I'm saying? There's an
Right.
action to being thankful. You know what I'm saying? Because you pour it back.
Right.
Just saying thank you is just giving a compliment to saying, hey, thank you for giving for whatever you gave me. Thank you. But the true essence of acceptance of thankfulness and gratitude is giving it back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I think that's so powerful with a lot of what you were saying and a lot of the relationships that we were blessed with in our community in our village, like you said, man. That was beautifully said, bro.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Coach
I
Sean,
agree.
before we wrap up, I have to ask this question for you. And I don't know if this is going to be a hard question for you to answer or a pretty easy question for you to answer, but I'm very interested to hear how you're going to answer this. If you had to give yourself if three key pieces of advice, if you had to go back and talk to your younger self right now, what are the three key pieces of advice would you tell yourself with all the knowledge you have today? What would you tell yourself?
Mhm. What age? Which
Let,
age am I talking to?
I'm saying that 8 or 9 year old.
Hmm. I would say aim higher. I would say, and not just in sports though, understand that this is a foundation that you can build and leverage that can affect your kids, their kids. This is one of the things that you don't really realize, like as a byproduct of you 10xing your goals. By you 10xing your goals, you've just raised everyone around you's belief system. So I've had cousins and people that I didn't even know were watching say, man, like I used to watch, we used to watch your film. Like I model my game or, what I was doing after you. So like the best thing we can do is just be like, we have enough people that can pinpoint problems in society, but the more action we can take in stress testing our goals, that's what's really going to move the needle. So I would say, young man, like aim a little bit higher. I, physically, I think I maxed out what was possible. I could have put in a little bit more work in developing soft skills. Could started practicing speaking a little bit earlier, practicing writing. I was good at all these things. I never had an issue with school, but like, it's if I was to create a player, right? We all
Hmm.
had Madden, and we all,
Right.
I used to suit my player up 99 every stat. But now it's like we have that same capability of creating a creative player, 99 every stat. The key is the topic of the night, discipline, but then also awareness of where you might be short in one stat. So just pay more attention to the deficiencies and then give yourself a little bit of grace for not being as proficient in those areas, but then develop a plan, test it out. If it doesn't work, fine tune it, reiterate, test it out, whatever that stat is. I mean, it is not just sports. I think why every company loves someone with a sports background because we take care of the hard things. Like discipline is something that every company looks for. Like every business owner needs. Every like
Hmm.
it's so powerful.
Hmm.
Sports is a good foundation, but if we understand that like these same character traits can take us wherever we want to go, then it's like, all right, well, let's aim higher. You know, I should have had higher academic goals. I mean, I was Big 12 all academics team, all of that. But like it was just this is what I got to do. Okay, I'm gonna get it done. Like it wasn't. I didn't really have a big goal. It was just I will do it. I will make sure I do it good. But like if I had gave myself the goal of graduating magnum cum laude or whatever, I could have did it. Like even though I might not be the most proficient in certain areas, but I have the discipline to physically hit goals.
Mm-hmm.
If I needed to hit a mental goal, that's pretty easy compared to running into people full speed on the football field.
Right.
So I say like aim higher. Like, yeah, you can get by in these other areas, but like let's play on the next level in these other areas. And for me, like I would say let's do that in every area. Let's be an all-American in every area of life.
Mm.
Relationships, school, um, church, community service, you know, all around. Like I heard this guy say this, and it's like, oh, that hit hard. He said, your weakness is like their way out. So if you have people that are looking up to you, or you're leading a group of people,
Mm-hmm.
your weakness is their way to say, like, I can't follow him, you know? So it behooves you to like pay attention to where you're deficient at and work on that so that the people will have more conviction in what you say because they can't find the weakness in how you are and how you present yourself. I mean, it's a huge task, but just by putting awareness on it is better than ignoring it. So,
Absolutely.
it's just what does that look like? Like, where are we deficient at? And I think the better questions we ask, the better answers we get. So
True.
that's what I would tell my younger self. Just let's clean it up everywhere.
All of that. Again, kind of broaden the deck a little bit more. Again, you were laser focused in a lot of good areas, but like you said, that there could have been some more focus in some of those other areas. And I think again, it's hard for some people that aren't used to self auditing, that aren't used to critiquing themselves and taking that constructive criticism, even from themselves, right? Like you're able to do that for yourself, and a lot of people can't do that for themselves. So I find it really really refreshing when you start getting around people that you hit the nail on the head like that on off switch. Like it's not a switch anymore. Like I'm not conscious that there's a switch anymore.
Yeah.
Like now I'm on autopilot. So I love the way that you phrased that up. So Coach Luna, you got any closing remarks before we get out of here, sir?
Yeah, man. Shame on me to think um that the accumulation of like the bad habits that I have um like I guess accumulated over the years, shame on me to think that I can't overcome them. Shame on me to
Mm,
think that I don't have the spirit in me to overcome them. I had to have that real conversation with myself um after situation after situation, and every single time I knew the root cause. I knew what it was. One, it was me, but it was what I was um consuming myself with the alcohol of trying to run away from something. I'm trying to put a band-aid on a leaking boat. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
that's
right,
not gonna happen. And shame on me for thinking that um this little 1 week of I did 1 week, I'm not drinking. Or I did 1 month of no hard liquor. You know what I'm saying? Shame on me to thinking that putting a band-aid where the God that is in me is greater than me, right? I didn't understand exactly what that meant. I had to start diving into that word, man. And I had to start literally listening to the word. And there's so much power. And I've been posting clip after clip after clip after clip because it's so true. when it's like when you let his word, it does, you don't even have to verbatim speak the words that you are reading. But when you're hearing it and you're hearing it auditorily and it gets into you, it does something. It like stirs something in you. And you start literally like it's like a veil comes off of you and you start
Mhm.
seeing everything and everything you start becoming sensitive to everything and you start seeing all the things that have been hindering and you start and how Shaun said, how can I look in the mirror and understand that the person who's doing all these things is the same person I'm looking at? The same person I'm trying to change is the same person that's consistently putting me in this bind. And I was like, man,
Failing.
yeah. And it was like, man, God is this all being, all everything. And I am letting alcohol keep me from being a great husband, from being the best and getting to the best shape I can be, from being able to not go to church with a hangover, from bro, the amount of laundry list things that I could just go down because of me and this attachment to this feeling. Because it ain't the taste. There's not a single person on earth that says alcohol tastes good. It was a feeling and like of wanting to get away from something. And I had to go ahead, man. You gotta get to the point where, like David Goggins said it, man. Like enough is enough. Like you're my problem, me, you. We finna go to war. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go to this war because I know who's on my side, and we're gonna conquer this. We're gonna conquer this demon. It's not gonna happen day one. It's not gonna happen day two. It ain't gonna happen day 31. It's a constant everyday struggle. You know what I'm saying? And the more and more I've like read, and more I let that word just sink in me, man, I understand that he's like a prowling lion. And you know, we talked about this, like how does a lion hunt and finds the most vulnerable opportunity to clamp on. So I
Mm-hmm.
know these things now. So I'm aware of these things. I'm sensitive to where there goes the line in the shade right there. There goes a line. There goes those little traps right there. You know what I'm saying? And like just exactly like Shaun said, my environment and my disciplines gives me a better opportunity to not have to go down into the savannah knowing that there's a lion down there. It keeps me, it's just like it's literally like the Lion King. Like when he told Simba, do not go over there. You know what I'm saying? If you go over there, it's gonna lead to all these things. You know what I'm saying? I won't go over there anymore. And the more and more you just practice disciplines in those areas of your life, I literally I can look at myself from this day and I can look at myself from January 2023 and I'm not the same person at all. Like not even close. You know what
Nor
I'm
should you
saying?
be.
And you're not supposed to, but coach, there's a lot of people that understand that have that misconception of like, oh man, you never change. Ooh, shame on me then.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on me. I haven't grown. I haven't. There's nothing about me that has said, again, the greater is He that is in me. There's nothing that is glorifying Him that says I'm being better than God. I need. There's a self check that needs to go on right there. That self
Right.
audit. I need to fix something there. I need to be better.